From a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void live. Got a late start, man. Helldivers gets in the way sometimes, you know what I mean? For all you gamers out there, you know what I mean. We're back, and we're getting back into Far Journeys. Wait, hold on. There we go. We're going to get back into Far Journeys, back into the Robert Monroe exploration, this long journey of out-of-the-body experiences. If you're in the Discord, join me in live show. And Wolf, whoever wants to jump in. Ready to get the show on the road, man. So, we left off at Explorer Team 1. Now, remember, in this text and Far Journeys, Robert Monroe goes into what happened in 20 years. In the previous broadcast, he talked about that. So, he's going to talk a little bit about the Gateway program, which you already talked about. Some stuff from his Explorer team, and then we're off into his new OBE experiences, which are pretty fantastic, if I do say so myself. So let's jump in it, because we're already 20 minutes late. So amid the diversion of Gateway sessions, visitors ranging from psychologists, how many psychologists is around this guy, and electronic engineers to ex-flower children with backpacks, mail response to original journeys, we continued our research program with our volunteer group in the laboratory. The group became consistently more proficient in achieving other forms of consciousness, including the out-of-body state. However, personal events in their lives, such as moving to other cities, brought the regular weekly group down to 6. These were the physicist. We know that's Tom Campbell, right? The electronics engineer, social service executive, transpersonal psychologist, office manager, and psychiatric counselor. And I would have liked to use their actual names, but several felt their employers would take a dim view of it all. And I agree. I don't blame them. Their employers probably would have, I guess, not been happy that they were a part of some out-of-body experience thing. Who knows? I would have told my employer, I've been like, yeah, I'm getting out of body on the weekends, you know. So, let's see. No names. So he's not using any names. So one of the most peculiar aspects was their experiences paralleled my own, only in the preliminary stages. They could and did replicate my own near out-of-body experiences, but from that point on, there seemed little similarity, possibly because of the confidence factor of a monitor with whom to communicate. In some respects, they had freedoms that I never experienced. So yeah, Robert Monroe got to do a lot of out-of-OBE stuff on his own. He never had a monitor hovering over him, not like these people do, you know. So that the picture is clear, the subject lies on a waterbed in a darkened, acoustically and electrically shielded 8x10 room, usually booth 2, everyone's favorite for some unknown reason, but the booth has its own air conditioning and heating controls. Electrodes for monitoring physiological states are glued to the head, fingers, and the body. A sound microphone hangs about 4 inches above the face. Audio headphones completely over each ear. So you have to have the ones that cover the ears so you don't take in any outside noise. So most important, the subject has just gone to the bathroom to be sure the bladder is empty, and too many sessions had been aborted, remember, because the subject reported a problem in the physical body, only to find upon a hurried return to the body that it was nothing more than a distended bladder. So evidently the total physical relaxation encourages this body process. So if you're going to do the Gateway program, I mean, you would think that's common sense. If you get the audios, make sure you go to the restroom before you start. In the control room, 20 feet down the hall, a human monitor, either I or one of several others, communicates vocally through a sound system with the person in the booth. And the monitor also feeds hemisync sound into the subject's headphones, either to test responses to new frequencies or to aid the subject in achieving desired states of consciousness. Finally, the monitor observes and notes changes in instrument readouts on the subject's physiological condition. Often an assistant is present to help in that processing. So here is a typical, quote, entry report in the beginning of an out-of-body experience, transcribed from an early file recording during an experiment. Now this says SS/ROMC Office Manager 7, or Office Manager. That's all it says, is just SSROMC Office Manager. 7 minutes in, test number 188. I'm going rapidly. I'm not going to speak as if I'm the test subject. I'm going rapidly now through a tunnel. I was standing straight up, and now I'm just sort of sucked up through this tunnel. It's very narrow, and I'm rapidly shooting through this tunnel. And now I can see a point of light at the other end. I'm traveling rapidly to this point of light. It's like I'm on some type of light beam that is helping to propel me. I am coming out. I'm going into a different dimension, and I have just completely slowed down. And I'm right at the opening of this point. And now I'm gently coming through, and everything is green. It is so bright that it is almost blinding because of coming out of the dark tunnel. It's a different feeling. Now it is a real, strong energy that seems to be pressing against me. It is a great feeling now. This is a new energy level. I feel a strong, everything around me is green. So it just says, I feel a strong, and that's it. And I guess he interrupted himself and said, everything around me is green. It's so bright that it's taken me a minute to adjust and absorb where I am. And that is the end of that session, recorded session. So there was one small problem. Once our subjects passed through the light or achieved the out-of-body state, they were not particularly interested in hour after hour of dull searching for new effective sound frequency patterns. They would still perform the tasks, but beyond the tunnel and into the light was Paris. Keeping them on the farm was certainly no trivial problem, so we had to play a little, and play we did. We sent our subjects to explore the moon, which they found a very dull place. We went to other parts of the solar system, the other planets, and found them, as far as we could determine, nothing but mile after mile of craters and mountains, or simply layers of turbulent matter, no vegetation, no sign of life, nothing to truly attract our human attention. We did find that in such a state as the out-of-body experience, a different kind of consciousness seemed to exist. The overview of the subject was different. For example, what to us in the control room was a minute could become hours or timeless to the volunteer in the booth. It was at this point that we began to call them our explorer team. And like most humans, we were possessed with the idea or hope that there had to be intelligent life somewhere among the billions of stars that we would perceive physically. So in our play, we took to sending our explorers out beyond the solar system at what appeared a near instantaneous change of locale. The instruction was to keep going until he or she perceived something worthwhile. They passed by other suns, found other planets, but no intelligent life. It seemed to us a sterile universe. Now remember this too. This is all assuming that, all right, Bryce is here, cool, in the live chat. So this is all assuming that these people are telling the truth, that they're not projecting stories from their head or consciousness or anything like that. So got to keep an open mind. For some, I don't know why, it's probably my own stuff, but for some reason, I trust Robert Monroe's story. But when other people, other explorers start reporting stuff, I don't know why I get kind of skeptical. It's probably my stuff. But so the change came in 1974. It took place in all of our explorers within several weeks. What change are we talking about here? All right, we got Wolf in here. What's up, Wolf? Hey, can you guys hear me? Y'all can hear me, right? Are you getting feedback?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is it that I'm skeptical? I'm not skeptical of Robert Monroe's story, but I'm skeptical of the explorers. Is that just me and my stuff? I think that's just my crap. Are you guys skeptical of the explorers?
Yeah, a little. I mean, it depends what their kind of perception is, but how they think and what, how they perceive everything, really, doesn't it? Everything is a filter through them.
Right. Yeah, that's what, yeah. All right. So we can go through these and see what's up. So the change came in 1974. I just wanted to make sure it just wasn't me. Yeah. It took place in all of our explorers within several weeks. Some had never met one another, so there was no cross communication. And in looking back to examine the reason, for the massive change, the only thing that we could find was we had inserted the affirmation developed for the Gateway program at the beginning of each experimental session in the lab. Other than that, we made no significant changes in hemisync frequencies, so basic environment or methods of presentation was all the same. It may have been the second part that was the catalyst. Now remember, the second part of the affirmation goes like this. What's up, Ari? Also, I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires. It was if suddenly a curtain had been lifted. Almost every time one of our explorers went into the out-of-body state or simply into an advanced focus 12, they encountered intelligent beings who were more or less willing to communicate and could do so. And after several years of finding only barrenness, the effect upon us was overwhelming. We sometimes had difficulty in knowing how to handle it. Here's a portion of the transcript from the file recording of one of these earlier meetings. SS and TC, physicist, session. So this is Thomas Campbell. He can't hide that fact. It says XAL 812, 8 minutes, 12 seconds, session number 332. So just imagine Thomas Campbell's talking here. So back into regular 12, I had two encounters. The first with an unseen intelligence who replied to a general query for communications, sort of an I'll talk to you, but it was obvious that he, or I guess I say he because I got the feeling of a he, wanted to listen and said, okay, what do you want to talk about? And as I tried to put the burden on him or for some information about itself, about its environment, I got the feeling that it was angry for being bothered, sort of like bumping into a busy New York pedestrian. The second was much more interesting. The second communication, I didn't just get an intelligence, but I got a complete visual image. Female, late 30s, and she was very pleased to communicate and offered to show me around and showed me a lot of the facility. I don't know what else to call it that she was in other than, I guess, a facility, but we walked up to this wall and two big doors swung open and there was nothing there that seemed impressive at all. But she thought that these markings and irregularities of the surface were quite something. I don't know why I didn't relate to it all, but I asked her if she was in any way familiar with physical matter existence as I knew it, and she asked me to explain. I really didn't know how to explain physical matter, so I asked if it was all right if I came back and that I wanted to leave to report in. She seemed a little dismayed that I was taking off after getting partway through the tour, but she said, all right. And that brings us up to the present moment. And then the monitor says, very good. In your return, try and understand the type of energy being utilized there. So this is still Thomas Campbell. Time lapse 3 minutes. Okay. I thought I had a better report back again before I forgot much of what went on. I reestablished contact with the same female, and she was quite surprised that I did return. Pleased at first, I began to wonder what this intelligence really looked like to itself. Was I just imposing my own image of a female humanoid form? And we discussed this, realizing that I was creating this image of her and could not really tell whether this was her own image of herself or not. She, likewise, was creating an image of me, in a likeness to which she was familiar. And whether or not these likenesses, I can't say that word, were similar, mine and hers, there was really no way to tell, so we left that question. And then I got an itch of some intensity that began on my neck, and I tried to explain that I existed in another reality besides the one I was sharing with her, and that I had a physical body elsewhere, and that the physical body had an itch on its neck and was disturbing the focus of my attention. And that is why I seemed to be fading in and out as my attention wavered. She seemed to think that that was quite incredible, and I don't believe she believed me at all. She just kind of ignored that statement like one might ignore somebody who says an irrational thing. So I asked about her physics, and she took me to another place where there was another entity. Now, this one male, and there was a writing surface, much like a blackboard, but not a blackboard. Whereupon he attempted to explain the nature of things there. But we had no success at all with his writing. The marks he had made on the surface, this blackboard, were totally unintelligible to me, and after a few efforts, we just gave up. We tried to go to pictures, and all the time we could communicate telepathically. Pictures were okay. He drew some pictures, and from the telepathic exchange, I felt that their science, indeed their concept of their existence and reality, was in many ways similar to our own, and that they were fixed in that reality and could not travel out of it, as I had traveled out of physical reality into theirs. I do not know whether they believed that there was another reality other than their own. They had a physical science much as we do, in that objects in their reality obeyed specific laws. So I tried to see if any of their laws were similar to ours, such as gravitation. And it was very difficult to tell. I could not separate what was their concept of their reality. All I could do was translate into my own concepts, meaning I didn't see them floating around in the air, but whether that was because they experienced a thing like gravity like we do, or whether that was a function of my own experience visualizing humanoids not floating in the air, I couldn't tell. But I did feel that they had a basic physical science that ruled the objects of their reality. They did not move things around by thought processes or anything like that. It seemed like an Earth-type physical reality to them, although I don't recognize many of their devices and structures. It seemed very foreign. But they seemed to be fixed and isolated within those devices and structures. Somehow I appear to them as one of their own kind. Whether that's humanoid or not, I don't know. But maybe I should have tried to find out where they think I came from or who they think I might be. Interesting. So that's definitely Thomas Campbell making contact with entities that, who knows, like what's really going on there. That's pretty trippy. But here's another one to give you a feeling for a different point of contact. Now, this is a session with JCA, the social service executive. This one lasted for 6 minutes and 27 seconds, session number 356. And it goes like this. I am talking with my green man and practicing going up and down to where they are, and found out why he has this green robe. He said that he didn't need it, but that I needed to make me, he needed it. He said that he did not need it, but that I needed it to make me more comfortable with him. And he said that I still had some fears, so he still wants me to feel more comfortable with going in and out of my body. I want to sit and talk with him some more, and he just kind of sat down and talked about me and where I am. And he told me that he is kind of my overseer, and he's responsible somewhat, or responsible for my growth and development. Overseer in that contact and responsibility, and apparently he has been through a lot of lives in different lifetimes. And I don't know if they are a part of him or not. I feel very comfortable here, like this is where I belong, and I've felt like this before. I think I made some progress because this time I didn't need any folks to help me. I was just there seeing him, more like a vote of confidence than anything else. And I asked him what he was doing here, and he said, here, that is something that you're trying to pinpoint. Here isn't here. Here does not matter. I don't know why, but I really feel very tired. I feel like I'm ready to come back all of a sudden. I noticed it before that it was like a flash, but it was dark in here. And there was a surprise because it was just like a flash of light that came on. So this guy claims to have met his overseer, and his overseer told him, wear a green robe so you'll be more comfortable with me. Now, look, guys, I got to think that Monroe trusted these people for some reason. I know the physicist. I don't know who these other ones are, but that one, like if some dude just told me that story off the street, like if they came off the street and said, hey man, I went out of body and this is what happened, I would be skeptical, you know? I would be like, okay, you met your overseer? Anyways, far more significant were the instances where our explorers quickly, quote, made friends with a being or beings or entities, maybe, who seemed to have no special interest in or connection to with our explorer. Here's a sample of an explorer response to one of these. This is a session by the electronics engineer. This session actually lasted 26 minutes and 20 seconds. Session number 325. I recontacted the source and asked the source about his pointers and perspective and asked him if he was familiar with the Earth, and his reply was yes, that it's my territory. And I got the idea that the Earth was sort of his assigned beat. I also got the idea that he and other entities are made available to us to help us maximize or get through our Earth experience. I don't mean get through like get it over with. I mean to help us get as much out of it as possible. They're like explainers or helpers and not particularly assigned to Earth duty. I then asked about geological conditions in the next 10 years, and he picked data up from my mind and knew what I was thinking about and said, I didn't know the information was available. He was surprised that this information was given out or had been released. He was not aware that such information was being released. The alien thing, maybe the alien theory is real. I think it could be. Another type occurred in this fashion. This is another session. A woman, the psychiatric counselor. This session lasted 16 minutes and 14 seconds. Session number 314. There's a point of light. Other than that, I don't perceive anything. Then the monitor says, well, how does the light feel? It feels like a star when I focus on it and I begin to float. And then the monitor says, experiment with the light. Okay, well, now they're getting closer. Now I'm getting closer to them. And then a whole time lapse of 2 minutes and 55 seconds happened. And a new voice came through the person that was laying in the booth. How are you? The monitor said, well, I'm very glad to meet you. I'm very thankful that you came. The new voice said, it's hard to get here. Monitor says, what is the difficulty? New voice says, there are many layers to penetrate. Monitor says, well, we are very, very grateful that you did penetrate the layers to us. We will help in any way that we can. I'm just going to say new voice and monitor now. So new voice. Well, her color pattern is very good. We must find a way to to help her let go. Monitor. Do you have any recommendations? New voice. There needs to be a period in which she goes very deep. Monitor. A long preliminary period then, would you suggest? New voice. Possibly. It will get easier as the trust builds. There's still a lot of fear. Monitor. Well, I'm very grateful for your concern for her. New voice. Now she's feeling a lot of disharmony. I have taken her to a place where she can rest. Back to Monroe. So in this case, the subject had no memory whatsoever of the event or the encounter. The last that she remembered was working with the colors. Changes in voice quality and monitoring instruments supported the idea of another presence or personality in the body of she. We had much discussion of the adversibility of continuing along this route in spite of the immense interest and excitement it generated among the group. The fact of the matter is, I suspect there was at this stage no actual means that we knew of to turn off such communication. I suspect also that no one wanted to anyway, at the least myself. But one explorer developed a very close relationship with what appeared to be some 4 or 5 beings, one of whom acted as a spokesman. Here's the transcript of the recording of a major step in that relationship. So this is session ROMC, the office manager. Session lasted 8 minutes and 5 seconds. Session number 306. Okay. I was watching what happened and experiencing at the same time. The 4 helpers just helped to lift as the energy body just came to my physical body. The 4 helpers helped to lift my energy body out, and I just felt real light and really really good and got the sense that this energy form that was then sort of implanted, or just in other words, it was in my body then. And it was just energizing my body. It was just light and well protected. And I felt good being out and felt very light. And then I could sense that energy of being. One person was just talking about how they could or would like to experiment in trying to use my body, sort of like a transmitting set between dimensions. I'll be able to step out and feel very safe and confident with these helpers and light and happy, and still be able to observe, if I would like, what's going on with the energy being. Monitor. Do they want to perform any other experiments now? Okay, well, the feeling that maybe they would like to experiment a little bit with talking maybe through my vocal cords, but I still am not out far enough that I might get out of the way. It will be with practice and experimentation, and then as I learn to be be more relaxed and just let it flow and go along and not let my mind stop it. The more they practice, it will be able to flow more rapidly, so they just want to experiment for just a short time with trying to come through with some thoughts through my vocal cords and my mental faculty, so to speak. So we'll just try to see what happens here. Monitor. Right. All right. Well, I'll be here if you need me. Okay. Then a whole 3 minutes and 23 seconds passes by, and a new voice comes through this guy. Greetings. I'm speaking through these vocal cords, and I would like to speak to this young lady as she observes what has taken place. Her physical body is seeming to heat up very rapidly. Sometimes it will be in a cool stage, but other times it will be in a heated stage. And the molecules of the energy body, which is working through her physical body, is working at a more rapid rate, and therefore, right at this time, there is a feeling of heat surrounding this body. This young lady will understand what is happening when we first come into her aura. There will be the feeling of warmth, and as she gets more relaxed and is able to begin her float above her physical body, she will experience as the coolness and feeling of relaxation, complete relaxation, and the feeling of complete calm, complete peace, and complete security. And then there will be the light stage and the coolness that will come over her, and she will know that she is gently going out of the body, but will always be in complete control if she so chooses. She is always there to observe, to speak at any time, or can always even choose to step into other dimensions, and there will be those who will help her into those other dimensions. And while this is taking place, we will work with trying to bring through information through these vocal cords. This is a special experiment of stepping into knowledge dimensions, and this could never be done were it not for you with the knowledge that you bring and with the great light and confidence that you surround this whole project that you work on. I have worked with others who will come in as we reach different dimensions and levels. We will not say higher or lower. They are light dimensions as we break through into the various levels. It is easier to bring through the knowledge. I am working now on the level where this entity is presently, but we will work together through various levels. There are others who are working with her. I speak in terms of we, because each time that I come, we come as a group. And there are others who are the assistants and will always be there to bring the energy levels up and to work. And we say that you are doing exactly what is necessary to help the situation to be in that perfect state whereby the energies can be released into other levels of consciousness. And now we will step out and allow her to step back fully into her own body. It is a privilege. Thank you, dear friends. Man, this would be so cool. If I 100% believe this would be so cool. But I don't know if I would consider this the same as would you guys consider this the same, Wolf or Bryce, as I don't know, the same as what Bashar does? Because I'm really skeptical about that crap, man. You know, I think that you can just split off a part of your personality and start talking through people, or just, I don't know. I think the unconscious is a lot more powerful than we give it credit. Not saying it's not real. If this was real, that would be cool, but I'm just having a hard time 100% believing it. I'm about 60% believing it. That makes sense, Wolf?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, it's you just don't know, do you? And some of that as well, there was some of those beings lifting her out of a light body. That was very much like the alien abduction thing, wasn't it? So
Yeah. Yeah. See, I understand. I mean, when they're talking about, well, she's floating at the top, or when she floats up above her body, like that, I know is real. Because I've done that, where you separate from your body and you just float above it, or you can feel that separation. But to be conscious or to keep speaking through your body while you're in that state, like, I don't know, man, or have some other being come in and just start speaking. Maybe it's real, man. Like, I can't say that it's not, because these people were like, this is like session number 300. And so these people just practice this intently over and over again. So it could be real.
It would be interesting if a lot of the same people had exactly the same experiences, like they all experienced being lifted up by beings, or they all experienced somebody in a green cloak, so that there was some consistency. But I'm like you, I'm just kind of open to it. But yeah,
it seems like they all have different experiences, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
But it says that Robert Monroe goes on to say that her confidence in the group was so great that their assistant was very much standard operating procedure. For example, in order to help her get out of body, 4 of these beings would position themselves, 2 on each side, and simply just lift her out. This made it all the simpler to get on with what had to be done. An interesting sidelight to this particular routine took place some months later. The Explorer ROMC usually had a lab session at 5 o'clock on Wednesdays, and on this particular Wednesday, she had canceled several days in advance, and by coincidence, on that Wednesday, a female psychologist from the Washington area just dropped in to visit. She was quite skeptical of what we were doing, and we spent several hours that afternoon going over our methods and techniques. And finally, in order to help her understand a little better, I suggested that she go into booth 2 and lie down and listen to some of the hemisync patterns and find out for herself if she had any responses to them. She agreed, fully expecting that there would be nothing unusual about what was about to happen. But with her skepticism, I was inclined to agree. Yeah, because usually nothing happens to skeptics because they don't believe in anything, right? It's just like that in the infield poltergeist when that one psychologist lady walked in and started questioning those kids, But after about 5 minutes in the booth with the hemisync sound in her ears, her voice came through the intercom speaker. There's someone else in the booth with me. I pushed the microphone button. I want to make that sound. I pushed the microphone button. Are you sure? That's probably what it sounds like in the booth. Are you sure? She's probably freaking out too. Of course I'm sure. As a matter of fact, there are 4 of them. I made contact again. Are you sure there are 4? I can perceive them very clearly. There are 2 at my feet and 2 at my head. I pushed the mic button again. What are they doing? They're trying to lift me out of my body, if you can believe that. And suddenly I knew the answer. I looked up at the clock. It was 10 minutes after 5 on Wednesday afternoon. ROMC's friends can get trapped in routines too. I burst out laughing. I was about to reach for the microphone and explain to the woman in the booth when I thought better. I pushed the mic button. What are they doing now? Well, they've stopped trying to lift me out of my body. Her voice came back. And they're arguing. And it was difficult to keep a calm voice as I responded, well, what are they arguing about? Well, the 4 want to lift me out, and now there's a 5th that is arguing with them that they shouldn't. Well, do you want them to? I asked. I don't think so, her voice came back. And now they have stopped arguing and they're going away, so I guess there's no problem. I smiled as I pushed the mic button and said, well, just relax a bit and I'll get you out in a few minutes. Are you comfortable now? Oh, yes, she responded. I'm fine. I left her in the booth for some 10 to 15 minutes and watched as the gauges showed that she was relaxing into a light sleep. After a suitable time, I awakened her. Thanks, Ari. Appreciate it, brother. I awakened her and brought her out much refreshed. She was somewhat bewildered by the experience and made a valiant attempt to stay skeptical. I showed her the appointment schedule that usually called for an experimental session, and then I played the recording of the actual lifting out techniques as described by the Explorer subject. She finally left, a very puzzled and preoccupied individual. Things like that are hard on belief systems when they happen to most people. The problem was that so many were happening to us, and there were many suspenseful moments. It should be noted here that reaching this state of trust in communication and or association with these friendly entities and beings took hours and hours of preliminary contact plus third-party communication discussions. It didn't happen overnight to the degree indicated here. A great mass of material provided through such beings had to do with information of a philosophic nature or suggestions and advice regarding the personal well-being of the explorers involved. In no case was any drug or any other medication used in any of our experiments. Moreover, there are indications that a magnetic field is generated of a type with which our science is unfamiliar. One of the results of this is to set up magnetic fields in nearby electrical loops as well as audio cables. Another is to affect nearby magnetic tape to such an extent that a print-through takes place from one layer of tape to another. That's weird. The recording industry would like very much to know how to do this on a commercial level. However, of course, the results that we have are not significant enough to be commercially viable. Not yet, at least. One night, we got into our cars parked outside some 20 feet from Booth 2. We found that the batteries were dead in all 3 cars. They jump-started quite easily as it was a summer night and stayed in charge afterwards. Cars parked on the other side or 60 feet away were unaffected. Thus we learned we had better not park too close to Booth 2 during certain experiments with specific explorers. Exactly why this took place and still does so, we don't know. In the current explorer group, only 2 remain from the original team. The tide of personal events has moved the others away from this area, their lives visibly altered by the experience. The original material is still being processed. Meanwhile, more is entering through sessions in our new lab facility. Perhaps we need a few more doctors with other credentials. Hey, I will say this, though, Wolf. I talked to you guys about this the other night. That time I was trying to get out of body, you remember we were talking about this the other night, and I got stuck. Like, I started getting angry, and that there was that weird kind of voice that came through me that I thought was just my voice or my mind changing it. And these beings kind of just like shoved me back in. They didn't look like humanoid like beings, or I didn't see any hands or feet or anything like that, but I was still like, my eyes were still kind of open. All I saw was like blobby looking Rorschach kind of translucent figures. And I just saw them for like a split second, but I could feel them shove me back in my body. And all that happened like just about as fast as you can blink an eye. So, with that being said, like, let's say I spent just as much time, if I had the resources these people had and the time to just focus on the out-of-body state, maybe at least like that last one's a bit more convincing, if that makes any, just based on my experience,
Could be.
Yeah, I don't think that was in my mind at all, what happened to me that day. All right, so new associations, Chapter 5. In hundreds of hours of explorer communication today, about 1/3 consist of those instances where, with the explorer's permission, their friendly entities take over their physical bodies and speak using the explorer's vocal cords. The other 2/3 are contacts made by the explorer, who then converses with the non-physical third party and reports the conversation. In both cases, the monitor in the control room, the living physical domain, becomes a part of such discussions. What we call the explorer material is a combination of fascinating, baffling, awe-inspiring, thought-provoking, sometimes even boring data that is certainly much in conflict with many of the belief systems that we have within our culture and civilization. The most important possibility by far is the reality of the explorer material, their experiences, and especially these friendly entities who assist them. Second to this is the fact that the process is ongoing or expanding. To resolve the possibility one way or another will take some doing and some capacities far beyond the limits of our organization. In examining the explorer sessions in consensus, certain elements repeat themselves. Number 1. Whatever they may be, such non-physical third parties have the ability to radiate a warmth of friendliness that evokes complete trust, even with their lives, on the part of the explorers. And 2. Such beings are, first of all, totally solicitous as to the well-being of the explorer and spend much time in attempting to advance the best mental and physical state of the human being with whom they are associated. 3. A being usually appears to the explorer in the form of a hooded figure whose face is hidden in shadow and apparently invisible to the explorer. Once the explorer becomes completely familiar with the feel of the entity, the hooded robe is discarded and the explorer can perceive nothing, but still senses the radiation that is the entity. Number 4. In speaking to the explorer, the being is limited in vocabulary to that in the memory bank of said explorer. So therefore, it often shows hesitation in searching for the correct word to express what needs to be described, and often there's no such word in the memory of the individual. And 5. During visits by certain of these beings, especially when they use the physical body to speak through, there is a change in body voltage and other biomonitoring data in the explorer. Without further comment, here are some excerpts from various sessions. This is Thomas Campbell, the physicist. He just put TC, but we know who that is. 22 minutes 30 seconds, session 372. Well, I've gotten all kinds of things, and I've been trying to sort them and put them into some kind of rational order. First of all, I had the impression that physical matter, reality, and as much of it, I guess, what is normally called reality, not only physical matter, but also a certain amount of our daydreaming and our imaginative, intuitive qualities is a part of sort of like a large daydream or a thought form or a higher consciousness. Just as we can daydream and invent characters and situations, we are characters in a situation that was invented or dreamt, quite consciously dreamt by a more advanced sort of consciousness. The part that we have to play in this daydream is one of education, one of learning and bettering ourselves, striving to become more. Now, I'm not clear why this kind of overconsciousness or oversoul is having this daydream, but I have the feeling that it's for its own education. It learns as we learn. Anyway, we have such limited consciousness to begin with, because if you're going to set up a situation where you expect certain processes to happen, these processes, of course, are our education, our learning, and you don't set up the most complex and involved experiment or situation. You set up a simple one that you can produce, that still has the qualities to get the results that you want. This is the reason that we are seemingly of such limited consciousness, but the reason that we have an option to develop our consciousness more fully is part of the experiment itself. We are to learn and grow and evolve and become and learn through experience and doing, and as closely as we can come to understanding and being a part of our understanding, a part of our Creator, our oversoul or daydreamer, if you like, then sort of the more power to us. The more of that we can understand, then the more learning that we've acquired. So it's not really, well, I take that back. It's not so much that we are driven to expand our awareness, or that we should be, other than it's available, and being available makes it a direction in which we can evolve if we so choose. That's a little jumbled to myself, but that's the way it's coming out. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. That if what Thomas Campbell's saying there, then that would make sense why a lot of magic and psychic attacks and stuff like that works, or just magic or transcendental magic itself. Next session, she social worker, 18 minutes, session 366. I've been on almost like a vortex I was caught in. 22 is not physical in any way. 21 can be either physical or non-physical, depending on where you choose to focus the energy. It's neither up nor down nor forward or backwards. 21 all appear very comfortable, but very different. The sense I have like a rainbow going before me of colors, and they are like the colors that Miranon has described, but they're all going at different beats and moving. It's like I see a spectrum of 22 through 28, something like that, and they're all interwoven. I think I could draw it for you. I like 21, so I've just kind of stayed here in that sense that I have. It's like when you ask that, I got the illusion of looking at a sunset and having it sense that the horizon is the end. But that's it. That's only an illusion, because as you go forward in the levels, new levels arise. And then a minute and 22 seconds goes by and another voice comes through. I apologize for being so late, but I need to thank you and to tell you that I'm glad you received my message. If you would like to explore these levels, I would be very happy to do so with you. Monitor. I would appreciate it very much. Other voice. As I have said to you earlier, plants exist on levels 1 through 7. They are on a vibrational rate on the levels 1 through 7. It is the same pattern. Animals exist on levels 8 through 14. And when a consciousness attains level 14, it can no longer go any higher unless it is willing to change its form of consciousness. Levels 15 through 21 are what you call human life on this earth. When a person progresses to level 21, he then has the choice of going higher or staying within the realm of human form. But he cannot go higher unless he's willing to give up human form. Monitor. Give up being human? Other voice. Level 22 through 28 are your bridge. They are your levels that you enter upon death. You're on level 20, and because that is an ascending level, you can enter into the realm beyond physical life, but you cannot stay there unless you're willing to give up your human form. Is that clear? Monitor. That much is clear, yes. Other voice. And then once a person or a consciousness, we're talking about consciousness, reaches level 28, the bridge is crossed, and from that point on, for a consciousness to evolve higher, it would not again assume human form of any kind, not even as a learning experience. I will never incarnate again as a human, as another form of life. Yes, but maybe, but not as a human. The words are very hard because your plane of existence is not the same. Perhaps I can explain it by asking you to imagine 7 of the circles, which would give you the 49 levels. 7 circles, 49 levels. The first 3 levels are physical matter, as you know physical matter. They are your plants, your animals, and your humans. The 4th circle is your bridge, your realm, your center for that overall plane. It is the time in which a consciousness can choose whether to go back into the lower levels or to transcend into higher levels, and many consciousnesses do choose to go back into the lower levels in physical form. The upper 3 circles are the realm that in your consciousness is called the spiritual realm, and here much of the work is done. I could not help someone who was not on the 18th level very much because my plane, my vibrational rate would be different. This is why it's hard for me to help you with specific problems. I can give you ideas, but I cannot give you the direct guidance I could if you were on level 18. Our planes do touch since yours is an ascending spiral. Yours is an ascending spiral. And ascending, what is your word for that? It is an ellipse. It is an ascending ellipse, and therefore I can cross and communicate with you, but not as directly. Once I reach level 49, which I will, I then leave all of this realm of existence. It does not mean I have reached the highest point by any means. It just simply means I've left this group of 7, this overall group of 7. Imagine, if you will, the 7 circles enclosed in an even larger circle upon which 7 more circles are stacked, which is in turn enclosed in an even greater circle. Then you can have some idea of what infinity is. It does never stop. Monitor. Well, I must confess that is kind of hard on my tiny poor physical matter consciousness. Other voice. That is true. It is very hard on my consciousness also. I feel at times, because I am very near to completing this circle, that I have accomplished a major evolvement for my consciousness, but then when I try to explain it, I realize just how far I have yet to go and how little I have actually gone through, because of my level of consciousness is one of love. I leave you with love. Good day. Buddy Stephen Ash, before he passed away, wrote the book The Kabbalah and the 50 Gates, where there's actually 49 gates. Not saying it's the same thing, but maybe they were kind of sensing something there. Let's see. Session, what time is it? Okay. Session SCA Executive 34. Damn, this one was 34 minutes long. Session 402, Monitor. Ask him to describe this interactive unit that is you now in your physical body. What is the relationship between this energy form and your physical body? Well, part of my energy that I have when I'm out of body is used to build my body. It's used to build my body, this energy. When I use this energy to build my body here on earth, it blocks or curves my thinking processes so it doesn't go out of my body. The thinking processes need to be curved to communicate with the other personalities here on earth again. This is one type of communication when I'm out of body. I take most of that energy that is used for my body with me, but enough to keep my body informed, which is left here. It permits me to open up my mind and allows me to communicate with other personalities, other brains, so to speak, to communicate with or to learn from or to talk to. Monitor. At what point do you first enter to become a part of this physical body? Well, apparently, this is the other voice. Apparently, although fertilization is a mechanical thing, a chemical thing, the personalities out of body are very much aware of when things happen and choose at the time to develop the fetus or not to develop. So part of my energy at this moment may be used to develop a personality, and I may have several personalities going on at the same time, being developed at the same time. Monitor. At the same time in the physical kind of reality? Voice. Yes. They tell me right now one is old, one is crippled, and one is male. And where they are, I am not ready to know. And I could feel being old and crippled, but I could not feel being male. Monitor. Is this entering of the physical body limited just to the planet Earth or other planets? Well, we go to other places. There are beings on other places, and our energy is aware of all these other places. Monitor. Do we inhabit physical bodies in these other places? Well, not like human earth bodies, but other forms of things or beings. Monitor. What are some of the other forms on planets? What are these other forms? One's like a gelatin kind of thing, slimy kinds of things. Monitor. Are these located anywhere near the planet Earth? No, thousands of light years away. Monitor. And this energy, is there a set of rules in which one operates? Voice. I'm not sure what you're asking. Monitor. Is there a set of rules in which the body operates? Oh, well, no. The energy itself decides if the energy itself makes a wrong decision, and then it destroys itself. If it makes correct decisions, it builds or strengthens its personality. It is possible for the energy to destroy itself. Monitor. What is classified then as misuse? Voice. Well, when it has not added to its present knowledge, when it has not gained anything more than it had learned previously, it's more than just a question of good or bad or good or evil. For example, killing by itself would not mean that it was destroying the energy by killing the animal or another human being. Not just adding to the knowledge, but enhancing the personality. The deed actually enhances previous knowledge or understanding that is used as addition or strength. If the killing was for the sake of killing, if nothing was learned, nothing gained, then it would destroy the overall personality. But there also seems to be a hierarchy of understanding, and as the energy is strengthened, it moves up a hierarchy of knowing. It's getting weird, isn't it? Ari says, I stay in 23. That's funny. Monitor. Then where does this hierarchy of knowing lead to? Well, it's very important to become a move, or it's very important to become a move toward a unified whole like there is one on the top. As the personalities move and merge, the more knowledgeable, and the level of understanding increases as they move up. It doesn't make sense verbally, but visually it makes a lot of sense. Monitor. All right, then I think you have given us a lot of material to think about, so thank your guide and ask if there is a name that he goes by. Well, he doesn't want to give a name right now because he doesn't want it to interfere with the training that we're doing. Be too concrete. I need to be more and more aware, and he can do his work better right now without me giving him a name. Okay, Monitor. Well, ask him if there is any other training exercise that he would like you to perform before we close this session. No, he thinks I've gone further than he really anticipated. That one's weird, man. I don't know. I think that one was all mixed up in the head of whoever that was. Just my opinion. Okay, let's see how many more of these there are, because yeah, no, we're good. If I was out of body, let's just say I would come right back. I've got to go to the restroom. All right. Psychologist, 8 minutes, 22 seconds. Session 375. Monitor. All right. Ask your friend how we got here in the first place, how we got on the planet Earth and in space-time. Well, I felt like I was being taken back in time and could feel a bombardment of particles of matter, and actually seeing the bombardment of particles. Some particles that fused together actually became a working mechanism. I guess the only thing that we can understand and relate to it would be like a computer. And as a fusion of these particles occurred, they actually started communicating with one another by the heat of the light or the energy that they were radiating. And once they knew that they were communicating with one another and that it is trying to communicate on the same level, and then there were lots of these things, and they wanted to find out what they could do with this communication, how far they could go, how they could expand, could see, or could think. They developed Earth and actually built Earth. They took a part of themselves, played around with animals, people, and they realized the number, how many they could produce just from one. Like one of these things could have thousands of people, parts of them situated like everywhere. The problem after a time, though, they created better minds or thinking machines in the event that the original should die or disintegrate. They are not long-lasting in the sense of thousands and thousands of years. They're not forever kinds of things. Our spirits seem to be an improved model of the original. The original has disintegrated. Monitor. Did the spirit originate in the process? Well, the spirit was a result of the process. The spirit resulted from the fusion of these particles. The particles were matter fused together. That was spirit also. It was, and that spirit lived for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and it disintegrated. And before it disintegrated, it rebuilt something that was better, and it knew that it was going to die. It was going to disintegrate, and it created the spirit that I now communicate with. So in a sense, they both can be called spirits or superminds. But your spirit could be and is different from my spirit. Monitor. How many such spirits are there such as the one you are communicating with? Only 1,000. Monitor. Did they remain in the vicinity of Earth? Well, they don't know that term, vicinity. Vicinity to them is as long as it's within millions and millions of miles of their reach, it is in their vicinity. To us, it means very close, but their minds can reach out over millions of light years. Monitor. Are there communications with other spirits or other intelligent entities? Well, they have created them. If they have created them, yes, there are. Monitor. So why do they give so much attention to man? Well, they are creation, like I said before. Months ago, we are experiments. Months ago, that's weird. We are the tester to see how far the spirit can think, can fuse particles together, can see what his potential is. They're still experimenting to see what their own potential is, and we are part of that experiment. Monitor. Are we an important or a minor part of this experiment? Well, they are afraid that all the brains that they created could fathom it or could take it. It's like some of the brains that they have developed would short out. Monitor. Have they created all the human brains that are on the planet Earth? Yes. Monitor. I see. Yeah, they know everything that's going on. And to clarify one thing, when humans have offspring, they don't necessarily control the offspring, but it is a part of the experimentation to see what results from the mating. When two parts of a spirit or two different spirits actually mate, what happens? They don't know, and that is part of the experimentation. Monitor. Can your spirit be in touch with my spirit? Yes, anytime. Monitor. Ask your spirit to see if he can be in touch with my spirit and see if there's any special messages that he has for my spirit. I'm feeling uncomfortable about going to other spirits, and he was laughing at me for doing this, for feeling uncomfortable. Even though I did it with my mother, I just better come on back. Monitor. All right. Thank your spirit. Okay. That's a little weird. I hope that one's not true. That's pardon my French, that's really weird. That one can't be true. If that one's true, then we're all screwed. All right. This is the last one, and then I think eventually we start getting into Robert's new adventures. But so this is a session from SS NVP Decorator. This whole freaking session lasted 92 minutes and 30 seconds, session 388. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that there's some filtered philosophical beliefs coming through this message, but you'll figure out what I mean. Blessed are they who seek me. In seeking me, their long period of forgetfulness is coming to an end. They are awakening to who they truly are, a living part of me, manifesting life and radiating love. You have forgotten to look for me, much less gaze upon my countenance, O ye of little faith. There are countless numbers who live in the expectancy of my coming. In truth, I never left. Let he who has ears to hear, let him hear now. You seek me amidst your blindness. You look upon me without recognition. You touch my hand and know not whom you have touched. You proclaim my name and my teachings as it suits you in the occasion. Awaken, behold the reality of my being that is among you. I am the earthquake, wind, and fire. I am the still small voice piercing the thunderous tumult. I am the peace beyond all understanding. I am the light that guides all men to the Father. I am the love that overcometh all things. I am the light that illumines the minds of men, and I am the sustenance of men's souls. I am your life, and you are my own. I am the very breath you breathe. We are one in the Father. Do not despair. I will never leave thee or forsake thee, nor can you truly forsake me, for we are one. Let the old ways be gone. It must die, and its ashes be blown to the four corners of the earth. The new is emerging, but you must change your perspective. Do not look for me in the form of a man. The time is not yet, but look for me in the life that speaks to you in your everyday activities. You have looked amiss. I have no limitations, and I'm not bound by physical dimensions. I defy logic and am beyond your conceptual imaginings. I live and move and have my being in all there is. You have sought me amiss. My countenance is seen with each face of my Father's creation. Look upon your brother and see my face. Bend over a still pool. Do not be deceived. The image that you see reflected is my own. Do you not see the truth now? Learn of me. Take within your hand a leaf, a stone, a drop of water, and know that nothing exists that does not contain me. Have you not known that I am eternal life, and therefore recognize neither the past nor the future, only the now, that is? Live in the now with me. I stand in the light as you stand in the light, but you do not know of your light. I am here to show you that your light and my light are one and the same. Once you recognize this divine light to be a part of all that is, will you then begin to understand your own relationship to life, to your Creator, and thereby to your own sonship eternal? I neither slumber nor sleep, and you must learn that your soul neither slumbers nor sleeps. Once you realize this, you are aware of your spiritual vitality and wakefulness to your high consciousness, and so knowing, you will understand that I am truly closer than your hands and your feet. In this knowing, in this knowledge, we are one. Live in truth, be truth, live in beauty, and become an artist in living. Live in me and let me express you. I reside in all space and no space, all time and no time. Once you turn and become a part of my reality, all power is restored unto you. This is the power that makes you one with all things. This is the power that will set you free. My children abide in me. That sounds like a Christian mystic just kind of spewing stuff out, doesn't it? All of the Explorer material has one characteristic in common, even though they're all different. They pose more questions than they answer. As they say, we got a problem here. We thought our new associations would provide answers, but for every answer, at least 50 new questions arise out of the Explorer material. Therefore, it became time to stop counting the trees and look at the forest instead. And so we did. Yeah, that's like what Wolf was saying a minute ago, man. Like there's some stuff that's the same, but it's like they're all getting different messages. Kind of the same message, but different filters. So you got circles and 49 dimensions. You got particles that are coming together. You got some of them that are saying that one is all and all is one. God is everything and you're God. And they're all, that's why I think it's all like your brain is like a filter. when you start that, well, I'm going to let entities talk through me and stuff instead of just trying to move your consciousness away from you yourself or out of body. I guess out of body. I don't know. I don't see me ever getting into that. I could. I don't think so. Okay. Little boy's room. Got to go to the laboratory. Hell yeah. Be right back. Yeah.
Portion of the show is being brought to you by Ed's School of Charm and Social Graces, where this month only you can receive a complete free lesson in knowing which fork to use to scratch your back. And remember, if you'd like to learn one of life's most valuable secrets, just send $20 to the announcer in care of this station. And by return mail, you'll receive your very own copy of the exciting 1.5-page book entitled Why You Should Never Send Some Guy $20 Just Because He Asks You to over the radio.
Country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit, and when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
Are you there, Bryce?
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Roop.
Okay, all right. We'll get back into this text here. We got Wolf and the boys and Bryce Aroni in the live Discord. Alan as well. Shit going, man. This gets weird. It gets weirder. That's why I was telling you guys, like, this text gets weirder and weirder and weirder. Is it more weird? Do you say weirder or more weird? Hell, I don't know. So we're in the segue. Hopefully we're segueing. We're starting to segue away from the Explorer stuff and getting into the Robert Monroe's new experiences. So this one's actually called Segway. So his experiences get a little weird too, but not being at all loath to borrow a word or term from one cultural context and apply it to aptly here, Segway is defined as a proper interlude of musical melodies and harmonies that moves from the conclusion of one composition to the introduction of another. Proper infers a transition that smoothly loses the previous theme or mood and sets us the stage for what is to come. Hope we can do this right. So this is the segue, the movement from what we have labeled local traffic, for example, events and activities that relate directly to the here, now, time, and space, filled with much congestion, motivations, devious highways and byways, misconceptions, overwhelming emotions, detours, road repairs, confusing and conflicting signposts, inaccurate road maps, baits and lures, both subtle and obnoxious, and dreams, ideas, learning, and love, to interstate, where virtually all of the rules, patterns, illusions, and the rest of this local traffic, with few exceptions, are non-existent. So to begin the segue, here's the mix of the premises and conclusions we had reached by mid-1984. And frankly, personally, I don't know how the hell they came up with any conclusions, but here we go. Number one, all humans move into the out-of-body state during sleep. Going, falling, dropping asleep is simply just a process of moving out of the phase with physical time-space. And as the event takes place, the various stages of sleep are readily interpreted if viewed from this perspective. So thus, the deep or delta sleep represents the point where consciousness is completely detached from the physical reality, and the physical body is operating on an automatic basis with pre-programmed alert and alarm systems to recall consciousness if needed. The fact that most human consciousnesses do not or cannot recall or remember these nightly excursions is insufficient proof that they do not take place. A night of ODing on beer or booze can provide the same degree of amnesia. 2. Or weed or whatever, 2. A form of dynamic energy yet to be identified and measured by mainstream human civilization is present in all carbon-based organic life. It is this essence in organized form that enters the physical body prior to birth and departs at death, presumably more educated and with a minimum of wear and tear. The difference between the human version and that of a cow or a worm is only a degree of complexity of such organization. 3. The dominant waking consciousness that man considers of paramount importance in the scheme of his experience is but a part, and perhaps of the lesser, of the various forms thereof used by and are available to him. The addition of other parts can be made systematically, albeit carefully, to the dominant without danger or destruction. The result may be of a magnitude beyond the comprehension of the present dominant, therefore engendering, at the least, anxieties, at the most, total rejection. Number 4. Human consciousness is but a manifestation of a system generated under 2. As a vibrational pattern, multi-layered, and of many interacting and resonating frequencies. It responds to and acts upon it responds to, I'm about to start laughing, I'm going to get in the giggles. It responds to acts upon like patterns from external sources. The key to greater utilization thus may be the creation and application of external vibration at appropriate resonating frequencies so as to enhance a desired or needed specific. 5. Human and other patterns of consciousness are inherently non-physical. As such, they are not time-space dependent. Once released from physical restraints, they move into ambience and environments in accordance with the total energy matrix generated by each and the complexity contained therein. No belief system, illusion, action, or thought incurred during a sojourn in time-space can alter this basic process. In short, like it or not, You're going to continue to do and be after you can no longer hang in there physically. There is no rest, not only for the wicked, but for everyone else. And 6. In the awe-inspiring cloud of cosmology that has emanated from the explorers and their contacts, almost unnoticed is an underlying mosaic of action that becomes an astounding potential when examined separately. We would not have become aware of it ourselves except that we are exposed time after time to various details of its use. It is the display and application of a science, or call it technology, which is totally absent from our human culture. We simply don't know anything about it, nor do we have any accepted means by which to begin to gather information as to its nature or content. Here's a series of excerpts from different Explorer sessions that they're even more startling when the actual report is heard, taken out of context, just as we're doing here. Okay, so we got more of these. Damn it, I thought we were done with these. All right, so ROMC 6 minutes 45 seconds. 2 discs came to me, and at first it looked like 2 big eyes. I was put on one of them. I'm spinning around, and there's a light being put on me. I had a pain in one part of my body, and they are working on that. They're spinning me around on this disc and shooting a light beam on me. My body is heavy because of this physical pain I had when I woke up this morning. I feel sluggish today, and not as clear as before. So they're trying to help me. I say they, because I feel there's something there, but it looks like 2 discs and a light. I was put on one disc, and I don't know what happened to the other discs. I'm still lying on one disc. It's getting more light. There is light all over my body. I think the light is coming from the other disc, which is up over me. It is as if I'm between 2 energy discs. Monitor. Ask who they are. Well, okay, I just got the answer back that we are a source of light and energy which your body needs right now. Monitor. Do you feel any results from the energy? Well, at first I was feeling out of it, but I'm starting to feel a little more consciously energized. Monitor. Report when you have any change. Okay, I'm supposed to tell you what is happening because it helps. I keep sort of sniffling a little bit, and I get the feeling that it's going to help lift the vibration with my voice to keep on the level. I went onto that disc that I had gone on before, and I felt like it was twirling around very rapidly. It is sort of a balance, like an energy balancing, and when I sensed that from the center with this light beam, that there was sort of a centering down on me. Then they were working on an area of my body that shows up dark, so I felt that it was like they were putting some little, I don't know what you call them, like little stakes into my abdomen. They were being put one by one right across my abdomen, and after these little stakes were put in one by one, then I felt that they were working with different colors, especially like a violet and a blue. The beam came from the back of me, through my spine, and through these stakes that had been put right across my abdomen. They were doing some healing work. I'm being taken off this disc now, and they're going to start working to help me to go into the next level. All right, next session, MJL 351. When I go up, I have to leave that energy ball back down with my body. What I'm supposed to do is put the energy ball right down my spine, and when I take off, I will try it on, and this will keep the protection on my physical body, and I feel that they're saying that then at that point, they will be able to talk through me and work through me. And I will feel completely comfortable and that I am in control, that I had left my energy ball, which I've been working with as a part of me, that I will have that there in my body to keep the protection, and also that I'm going to be out exploring other things and they will be able to talk through my vocal cords. So I'm just floating up now, and now I'm supposed to stand and observe what is going to happen. My ears are starting to ring now, but someone is working on my face. They're helping to exercise my throat muscles to talk by getting me prepared. And then guess what? Another voice comes through. We are trying to show that she is multidimensional, and this is why she's able to see as a great circle of self, of many forms of the self. It appears to her to be like many cells extending from a circle in between. We're trying to show her that there are many, many dimensions of one human self. As she can see and understand that she is much more of that conscious self, that she is the mirror, and that she experiences in her waking state. She'll be much more prepared to go into the multidimensional levels of the consciousness. And this is why we are working on various levels, and not only the visual. This is very important to work on the visual, but also we are working with other senses as well. That's the end of that session. Another session, SSJCA, 39 minutes, 30 seconds, session 396, monitor. Ask him if he can help you communicate with some other mind on some other planet. Well, he did, and briefly when I was talking just a second ago, he showed me, and I quickly went to this other place, and I saw a person. Not really a person, a being in a place that was a yucky kind of green, that had a bright sky but was kind of cold, and people live under mounds. That's weird. That's the end of that session. All right, here's another session, 392. Okay, well, I went back to where I had been before, and the entity there did something to me. He came over to me and did something to me, and my perception began to change, and since that time I've progressed through half a dozen or more altered states, each of one being different than the other. I tried to strike up other conversations with this entity, and he seemed more inclined, and he seemed more to say, we'll do these things, and we're not ready to discuss things yet. He didn't seem in a very talkative mood. He was more interested in my performing these exercises than talking. He came over in his, well, what I perceived to be his hands, and what I perceived to be a head, although this was not really related to a physical body, but when he did that, I could immediately feel these changes in awareness. Some of the states I went through were very specially disoriented to where I really could not determine up from down or sideways or anything else, where I seemed to be twisting and kind of rotating especially, till I just lost any kind of sense of orientation. The fact that I was aware that these states were changing and relating them to my changing internal state seemed to be the lesson, to just observe this. Yeah, some of these sessions seem like a freaking acid trip, don't they? Or like a freaking DMT trip. That one does. All right, here's another session, 318. I've just experienced being sucked in a long tube and pushed the other way. I'm like in a cocoon. My hands feel they're clasped up tight. Remember doing that before. It feels kind of neat, but now I'm standing on my head, or now on my side. Darkness. But now I'm floating, but I'm in something. I feel something looking at me, watching over me. Several people rode watching over me. They're looking down, but they came to see me. No figure, just communication, just his presence. No figure. I can see where we are going, or I can see the rest, or can they come here? Okay, he said no, they want to watch me. They want to watch me in this limbo. Now they're all circled around, bending over, and now they're touching me. But I didn't see them, feel them. They're nice, warm, friendly folk, friendly hands, but they were hands leading me someplace. The presence was all around me, leading me someplace. He or it cares about me. The first thing that came is what we're part of one another, or we're part of one another, but we're kind of lost in communication with one another. It's there on the tip, but it's not out in the open. The white presence is trying to help us or pushing me. It's kind of transparent, feeling me. You're going to laugh at this, but I've been practicing going in and out of this tunnel, back, down, and up there. They thought it was kind of important to practice that. So I've been zooming up and zooming down. And my body looks like, through a telescope, the long way. And you'll kind of zoom in, and then you'll zoom out. A hug, and I said, all right, well, I'll see you later. Another one sounded like an acid trip. Here's another session, 367. They're working on my feet now, 2 at the end. Each of them are taking my feet and just giving me a real good foot massage. And as their hands touch my feet, I tingle on my feet. These are energy light beings, and they're just very gentle, and they are working on a different level than my physical foot. They're working on my other body, well, my energy foot, and so they're doing some special kind of touching on my feet now. They're working on my toes, barely touching my toes, but I can feel a lot of energy between their touch and my energy body. It feels good. It's a tingle. They're going to work on little spots on my feet, my toes, my big toe. Their fingers now are just working on my big toe. I could see why Robert Monroe gets frustrated. So Robert goes on and says, look, if one cuts through the purely subjective reporting, even with this small sample, much becomes apparent. Notice how easily any potential anxieties or fears are overcome by simply a pattern of radiation emanating from strangers. If you're feeling your way along in an environment new to you, would you accept so eagerly the appearance of an unknown being? What about the color patterns? Our explorers interpret them as visual patterns of light, and this is the best they can do to report the presence of some unknown type of radiation. Purple, blue, and green light will not create this effect on the human. And with our sophisticated knowledge of light frequencies and our use of them, we would long ago have observed such effects. There's also the use of what appears to be specific devices, such as the counter-revolving discs, which produce an effect totally beyond our comprehension. And there's the ability to remove the energy essence of a human from his physical body without disrupting his biological systems. This technology does with casualness and a certainty that indicates standard operating procedure. They know what they're doing because they've done it many, many times. They also have the ability to enter such a vacated human body and operate to it on some degree, again without disrupting said human body's normal functions. And not only can they utilize the vocal cords as well and the breathing apparatus, but they have total access to the memory stored lodged in the individual. They can at will change the temperature of that visited human body, make it either hot or cold, which is reflected quite accurately on our remote reading body temperature gauges. The ability to move that extracted human essence, once taken from the body to various other sites or maybe realities, and return all under perfect control in what seems to be absolute safety. The trip can be instantaneous or in slow motion and can penetrate matter as if it doesn't exist. Although this technology does not seem to have the ability to directly affect matter, by some method not visible, it can create changes in matter. In other words, there's no evidence that it can produce matter. That's not to say that it cannot, it simply just hasn't yet. But it can affect an energy structure, which in turn connects to our neurological system, which in turn affects the physical structure. Perceiving our thoughts, as flickering as they are, is absurdly easy for this technology, but for the most part, they apparently don't find it worth doing. Time and space also become our phenomena. This technology understands them from a viewpoint about which we can only speculate. Even the best of such speculations do not begin to cover the nuances implicit in their approach to the vital conditions under which we exist. Also, the entire history of humankind and Earth is available to them in the most minute detail, if needed. Where and how such information is stored and retrieved as a part of such technology, a seeming unimportant part. Implied also in such information storage is data on the entire physical universe, if there were any reason to require such detail. This technology can produce a beam of energy which is first translated as light, through which the human energy essence can travel back and forth, information can flow, and the operators of such technology can enter time and space Earth environments. Once properly perceived, they can endow the human mind with the ability to create, or enhance maybe, such a beam of energy. These observations are based on several hundred encounters with such technology. With our limited contact, the implication is certainly that we have learned so little about so much. Our attempts to learn more in a specific sense have been severely hampered by the knowledge and experience of the explorer through which the information is being translated. Also, there is a polite inference and the response to our queries that we would not be able to understand in any event. It does not take much speculation to recognize the potential revolutionary changes in our science and culture if but a part of such technology were actively introduced and applied in the months and years to come. Any serious consideration of all of the above hinges on one question, and one question alone. How valid is this entire project? To this end, responsible parties who wish to replicate such experiments are welcomed. Who are the beings who know and use this technology? Well, some have admitted that they never have been a human being in physical life existence. Others were here thousands of years ago, and some have been in physical life existence in other parts of the universe in non-human form. Why are they interested in human life on Earth? Are there thousands of them, millions, billions? They apparently do have individuality of a sort, but how did such a technology begin, and who developed it? Is there some restriction on our learning such technology and applying it here in time, space, Earth? Is this technology being applied constantly in other ways on Earth and in human affairs that we don't know about, and certainly of which we're not consciously aware? We do seem to have one answer. In all of our contacts and communication, the application of this technology seems totally benevolent. And there also seems to be rules and restrictions in regard to its use. And for this, we are humbly grateful. But to contemplate any other possibility could lead to mental disaster. And I don't think we could do anything about it, whatever our stance. A key point is surfaced, however, the sum of all my own personal experiences, that of our work in the laboratory, and the thousands of gateway experiments indicates that all other intelligent species, either in the physical universe or in other energy systems, use a form of communication that is total and certainly nonverbal. When words are used in such communication with us, this is a tight, narrow-banded tuning so that they can be understood, at least in part. But I cannot stress this too much. All other intelligent species use what we now call nonverbal communication, or NVC. It's something far more than what we label body language, telepathy, remote viewing, and the often mystical or religious connotations so commonly applied to a tiny part of NVC. We say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. A color picture is worth 10,000 words. A moving color picture is worth 50,000 words, and perhaps a talking moving picture is worth 100,000 or more words in the transmission of information and or communication. This nonverbal communication takes a quantum jump beyond a talking, moving, coloring picture. It is direct, instant experience and our immediate knowing transmitted from one intelligent energy system and received by another. The content can only be a 2-digit number or the actual relieving of an event, not a part of your own life patterns. So why did we evolve along our particular path so differently from the rest? I like the explanation which attributes it to the very rare characteristic of the Earth environment. We could see the sun and moon and planets and stars. And this presumes that most life-generating and sustaining planets have thick cloud covers that blot out all these. Their suns visually are no more than a haze of light, no more than nothing but blackness at night. Our species, able to see the physical universe from the beginning, took the route of astronomy, gravity, electromagnetics, particle theory, quantum mechanics, etc., which we call our sciences. Lacking this clue of a visible physical universe, other species learned nonverbal communication. And if I were proficient at nonverbal communication, which I'm not, and you asked me what was the matter because you detected unconsciously by nonverbal communication that I had a problem, I would be able to transmit into your sensory system how it felt to have that sore big toe that I had. You would momentarily have a sore toe just as I had, still understanding that it was my toe that hurt, not yours. And thus you would know far better than by means of any possible words that I could say, and what I was experiencing or feeling or wanted to communicate. Instead of my wife calling by phone to say that she would be late for dinner and that she would arrive at 9 o'clock, I would get a picture in my head of her driving the car with the headlights on with the number 9 flashing simultaneously in the picture. She would also show me a picture of the right rear tire of the car flat and being changed by a local state trooper. And all of this could be transmitted superimposed with the signal of warmth and love in the space of perhaps 2 or 3 seconds, no more. If I were proficient at nonverbal communication and my son also was trained in the technique, I could pass along to him in a very short order all of the education and experience that I have gathered that he might desire or that might be of use to him. It would not be the absorption of words simply received in serial form, but an instantaneous, or nearly so, transmission absorption of the entire event, including my emotional reaction, what my 5 senses perceived, and the interpretations and conclusions that are gleaned from my experience. So take this starting point and draw any extrapolation from it, then understand the limitations of our semi-intelligent species. Nonverbal communication implies a control of mental processes so alien to our present standard of being that I doubt there is a single human or group of humans on our planet who have mastered the technique. And if there are, they are very quiet about it. And on the other hand, if that were the case, they certainly would have had to develop some type of mental shielding to survive the cacophony of unorganized thinking that is so common here. Before man can communicate and associate with intelligent species at all levels of reality, he must become proficient at nonverbal communication. And I'm sure it must bemuse, if not amuse, other intelligent species when we spend millions for huge radio telescopes in the attempt to receive electromagnetic signals from other intelligent life sources. This is much like another culture measuring the exhaust gases from our cars or our pollution to perceive communication via this loose discharge of energy residue. And at the other end, animals do most of their communication by sense and smell. It would be easy to give hundreds of illustrations of attempts to cope with nonverbal communication problems. We have faced them in so many different ways that we're probably much more aware than the average group or facility. We still grope with the rudiments of nonverbal communication type of training and mental processing. And the only statement that we can make at this moment is that we recognize this existence and the need. From this segue, the material following goes interstate, an attempt to translate and transpose this nonverbal communication perspective into written word. Due to such conversion, the question of validity always will be present. Some, quote, thought balls are easier to unravel serially than others. At the same time, space humanizing is bound to create distortions. It always has. You do the best you can. And I think we'll stop there. We're done with that, though. So the next, I promise you, I'm looking at it right now. So the next part of this book is all of Robert Monroe's journeys. And it's actually called, because we're in part 2 now. That was part 1, near reaches. So part 2 is called Far Reaches. And the chapter that begins with his survey and schematics. So here at this point, he's going to create a key of language that we're going to have to use in order to understand the next, I would say, 8 chapters of his out-of-body experiences. And he doesn't use it all the way. So he'll use a word like imband, ident, rote, or run the rote, or percept. He's got a key here. And I have to, what I'm going to do is make like a backdrop with the key on there. And then that way, when you guys are watching or listening, you'll be able to use it. I still have to figure this out, because this whole next section is the coolest part of this book. I promise. But I have to figure out how to do this. Thank God we got through that part, though, right? That was tough. How weird is that, Wolf? You think we should continue on with this thing or no? It's going to get deeper and weirder. Yeah, that is kind of strange. Like, well, how come we're not... Well, that one person did say that there are beings below us, but they're on these different levels, right? Like when they went from like level 1 to 48 or whatever, you know? But it does, like... See, I get the feeling that we're supposed, like Robert Monroe's right, like we're supposed to grow our consciousness out of like the soil of our human body, so to speak, for some reason. Like the whole idea is consciousness is trying to get these experiences of our human life, but also we're supposed to pick up on this kind of hint to grow our consciousness without them really, something really just showing us how to do it, you know? I get that feeling all the time, but yeah, it does seem like you're right. Like we're what you said, like the lower end of things, huh? God, I hope that experimentation thing is totally wrong. That one, there was one explorer that was talking about how we're like just experiments, you know, that fizz out. You can say it, man.
Okay, sorry.
You went blank. You're saying, so for you guys that didn't hear Wolf was saying that he feels like we're the runt of everything, like we're the runt of all of it. But yeah, I hope we're not some human experiment. That would suck, man.
Oh,
You're too smart, Wolf. To me, like I couldn't bear the thought of any of you guys being just an experiment. Like we're all just cattle for the, like when you were in 8th grade, when you were dissecting frogs and stuff, that's what you are. You're just a frog on a table,
I suppose if these beings are real and this thing that sees us as that, if the premise is that we perceive everything through our own filter, through what only we can understand, then maybe if that thing is a real thing, it's perceiving it through its filter, and maybe what it's perceiving is wrong,
I think a lot of this stuff is, so like I've done DMT once, twice actually, and I've done acid and I've done mushrooms, and I've had some pretty heavy like experiences a couple of times in my life that there's no way I could explain. But he's talking about something totally different. Like it's not kind of like, man, I just don't have the words for it. It's almost kind of like it's just a higher form of communication, but when you go to try to explain it verbally, you can't. And it comes out like in all these different explorer, it's all whacked up, That's what I think was going on, but I don't know. I have no idea. We will find out though. We'll begin this next journey tomorrow night. Like this is all of Robert. There's all Robert Monroe's out of body events too, by the way, and there's going to be some graphic stuff in here and like some pretty funny stuff too. I don't want to give anything away, but some parts are adult, some parts are scary, some parts are weird, and then it just gets stranger after that. Thank you guys for coming out, though. Appreciate it. Wolf, Bryce, Aroni, Alan, all you guys in the chat. Well, Don't Watch says, how difficult is it to explain your emotions in some situations? Sometimes it can be like difficult to explain your emotions, but I think it's a lot deeper than that, what they're talking about. Norm MacDonald is talking to you, and somehow you're on the Joe Rogan Experience with Flint Dibble and Graham Hancock type shit. I love you guys, man. Gotta get the hell out of here. Oh, crap. I didn't even load up a track. Yeah, so what I'll do, I don't know if you guys have read Far Journeys, but we're gonna have to use a key for sure. Like there's no doubt about it. There's gonna be a few words that he uses to explain a very large concept, and then there's gonna be like a list of words like that. So it's probably gonna be one of the hardest things to convey. But we're gonna try. Thank you for your support. Appreciate you, Ari. Love you guys. Night night. Sweet dreams. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Keep exploring consciousness, though, no matter how weird it gets. Why not?
Tombstones climbing up the sky to claim the boredom and the whine of the radiator, to freeze the fates that intertwine, unresolved and undefined in this echo chamber. Once you've given up the ghost, just like Lazarus, you'll know there's an operator, some strange passenger inside. To that strange power I'm resigned like an iron anchor.